Post 2010, this is going to be the decade of e-commerce. Ben Pandey runs a traditional eatery in the city of Mumbai. Mr. Pandey wants to improve his income by listing it in platforms like Swiggy and Zomato. He thought this will fix his fortune, but he gets dejected. Both platforms rejected his application. Peter Pandey, a budding data professional, decides to step up and help his uncle Ben Pandey. Peter is a go-getter. He's set on a mission. He decides to build a chatbot for his uncle Ben's eatery. In fact, he succeeded in building one, the first small step towards a giant leap. I am going to take you along Peter's journey of building this chatbot step by step. We will first configure our chatbot in Dialogflow. Then we will write a backend server in Python using Fastapi web serving framework. This will interact with MySQL database. So we will be placing orders, retrieving order information from this database. And once all of this is done, we will integrate this chatbot to our food website. This will be truly end-to-end project, which will not only help you learn a lot of diverse skills required in building a chatbot, it will also give you a solid project that you can put on your resume. Fasten your seatbelts and get ready for the ride. Review the problem statement. We have this food website, Pandeyji, fresh and delicious foods. And here, if someone comes on the website, it will show all the items. So right now, it is selling only 9 items. These are all yummy items, chole, samosa, mango lassi, and so on. And a person can get an idea on the price, location, they can even call to inquire. But they don't have any technology as such. And what we want to do is, we want to build a chatbot and integrate it on this particular website so that, the chatbot appears on the bottom right and a person can say new order or track order. So now let's say if I'm saying new order, it will show me all the items which are available. And I can then say, give me 2 pav bhaji, 1 pizza, all the junk food. And it will kind of review whatever you have added in the cart so far. Then you can add, let's say 1 mango lassi. You can even remove an item. You can say, well, these are too much. I want to remove, let's say, pizza. And the chatbot, you look at it, chatbot is smart. It is remembering the context. And it is having this list where you can add items and remove items. Eventually, when you say that's it, it knows that you are completing an order. And it will say, okay, we have placed your order. This is the bill and so on. So we are going to implement this. And this will insert a record through our backend in our MySQL database. And it will handle all this conversation. I'm calling this a Mira chatbot. All these companies have fancy names, Eno, Julie, Alexa, all these chatbot names. I came up with this name, Mira. So Mira will be the chatbot that we are going to build. Now, you can have a different scenario where a person might say, I want to track an existing order. After placing an order, what happens is, in the kitchen, chef will prepare it, then it will be delivered. So here, see, order number 41 is in transit. Meaning order has started from the restaurant and it is on the way. Previously it was in progress, the previous order. So it can give you all that status. When you say, okay, Pani Puri, I did not understand it. It will tell you that we do not support these items. We can only order from all these 9 items. So it will have all these fancy features. Okay. So first thing we are doing now is we are scoping down our work. When I worked in industry at Bloomberg and Nvidia, business managers would come up with big projects and they will have so many features that they would want to implement. But when you start any project in the first phase, you don't implement all the features. You have to scope it down. So here is a huge list of requirements. You come up with the initial set of features that you're going to implement. And this is called scoping your work. Okay. In our case, we have variety of features. When it comes to new order, one can place a new order. You can also support paying through a chatbot for that order. The example that I showed you previously in the chatbot, it was cash on delivery. But a business user will say, okay, why don't you support credit card or debit card payment in your chatbot? You can also have tracking features. You can track by order ID, track by phone number, track by customer name. You can have other features as well, such as offers and store hours and so on. Now, you will review these features with business. By you, I mean the data scientists or ML engineers who are working on this project. So there will be engineering team or data scientist team. There will be business team. They will have conversation. They will do negotiation. They will say, hey, this feature will take 1 month. This feature will take 5 days. Which one you want to pick? And business will come up with their most desired items. Okay. So they will say, okay, I want to implement these 2 items, placing a new order and tracking the order. And that decision is dependent on 2 factors. One is how important is that feature. Second thing is feasibility. There is a term called feasibility impact analysis. Let's say this feature is very important, supporting payment through a chatbot. Business will say, yes, this is very important. But data scientists will say, well, it will take 2 months. Then that feature has a high impact but low feasibility. On the other hand, you can have a feature which is very high feasibility but low impact. For example, store hours. Implementing store hours is a piece of cake. You can implement it in half a day maybe, but it doesn't have too much impact. Okay, so you want to target those features which has high impact, high visibility. And after a closed room discussion between business stakeholders and data scientists, they decided these are the 2 features which we should implement in our first round. So what we had initially was all these features. If you put it in a flat vertical list, this is called your backlog. Folks, when you're preparing for data science or NLP career, make sure you don't learn only technical things. You need to understand the fundamentals behind project management, agile methodology, stakeholder management, and so on. Backlog is a popular term when it comes to agile way of building projects. Backlog is nothing but all your wish list, all the feature you want to build. Then after you had that discussion, which I already talked about, you came up with these 2 features, and they are called MVP, minimum viable product, which is your phase 1. In phase 1, I want these 2 features. And you can use tools such as Jira, Notion, Asana, etc. for doing this kind of project management. Right now, I just showed you all this in my slide, but when I was at Bloomberg, we were using Jira. There are companies which is using Notion. For example, in my own company, right now we use Notion as a project management tool. I have used Asana as well. These are all awesome tools, and they help you manage your project. They help you define your backlog, your MVP, and so on. And then once your MVP is defined, your data science team will work only on these 2. They will not look at all these. They will keep this in mind because these features they will implement in phase 2, phase 3, and so on. But their immediate target is these 2 features. Once these 2 features are out, now you will have minimum viable product, which is your first version, which you can deploy, you can test with users. Users will give you some feedback. After the feedback, some of your backlog items will change because business is dynamic. It's always changing. It's not like, okay, my manager told me to implement this 10 feature and I will keep on implementing this for next 1 year. No. As you deploy your MVP in production, your current backlog will change based on the feedback you're getting from people, based on changing demands from the business. So in phase 2, then you can pull some more features from backlog. So you'll continue adding or deleting items from backlog, and you will pull the features from backlog to here. Okay. So read online about agile methodologies, Scrum way of doing project development. There is a great website called scrumtrainingseries.com if you want to learn about Scrum. All right. So now we have these 2 features that we are going to implement in this particular video. So in throughout the video, we are building this particular MVP. So now let's think about solution design and architecture. When you get a project and when you have a scope of work clearly defined, see, so far we have clearly defined scope of work. I want to build a chatbot, put it on my website. Chatbot should support 2 features, placing a new order, and tracking order by order ID. As a data science team, you know exactly what you're building. Now comes the phase where you will define the technical architecture or the solution. Usually in the companies, when I was working in an industry and even in my company, what we do is we get together in a conference room and there will be a team of data scientists who will brainstorm the solution. Let's say if you're a college student, if you're learning, or even if you're working as a data scientist, you have a great consultant right now who is available to you for free all the time. And that consultant is ChatGPT. Yes, ChatGPT can give you a complete solution design. Here, I'm saying I have a fast food business. I want to build this chatbot and I want two features, new order and track order. Okay, ChatGPT will give you a complete design step by step, and the suggestion that it is giving is actually pretty good. Okay, it's not like bluffing. So it is saying you need to first use Dialogflow. It's a NLP platform. It will understand input and generate responses. Then you need to use Node.js for backend. You can have MySQL as a database. You can use Express.js as an interface and web interface. Okay, it is giving you one possible solution that you can use. In our case, we are not going to use Node.js, etc., because we like Python and we would like to do this in Python and fast API. So we will use that. But in ChatGPT, I'm pretty sure if you say, I don't want to use Node.js, I want to use Python, show me an alternative approach, it will tell you that particular approach. So I would say, let's try it out. Okay, so while you're watching the video, maybe pause it and just try it out and see the solution steps it has given. It's pretty darn amazing. Okay, once you get all these steps, you can also say, can you tell me step-by-step process of implementing this in Dialogflow? Because Dialogflow is just one component. So then it will say, okay, these are the steps. And by the way, don't worry about these steps. I'm just showing to you so that tomorrow, if you work on any NLP or machine learning project, you can use ChatGPT to come up with all these steps. And it will tell you, okay, define intent, define fulfillment, and so on. So let's go over this process step by step. First thing we did is we defined scope of work. We had new order, tracking order, billing query, store hours, and we said we'll implement only two things, new order and tracking order. Second one is chatbot platform selection. See, ChatGPT gave Dialogflow, but when I was talking to my friend, he told me, why don't you use Amazon Alex? Then I did Google. Google told me Rasa and Dialogflow and 5 other platforms. I am now confused. I don't know what to use. So you have to do some research to figure out which platform is the best one for you. And there are no general answers. There are specific answers. For your specific need, Dialogflow might be better. For a need of some other team, Rasa might be better. So it's like dependent on the individual situation. Therefore, you as an NLP engineer or a data scientist need to learn how to pick a right platform for your given project or a problem. Then we are going to obviously in this project use Dialogflow. I will tell you how I picked Dialogflow and why I didn't use Rasa. In Dialogflow, we have to set up something called intent and fulfillment. We will go into the details. Okay, don't worry. I know these are all jargons. This is all actually very easy. I will tell you later on. Then we will build backend and we will do it in Python and Fast API. On this channel, there is a Fast API tutorial which you can watch and get your fundamentals clear. But yeah, that's what we are doing. We are not using Node.js, etc. And then in the end, we will integrate this chatbot into our website. All right, now how did we pick up Dialogflow as a platform for this particular project? So see, there are two options whenever you are building any chatbot. You can use a ready-made framework such as Dialogflow, Rasa, etc. Or you can go for custom implementation where you can use things like OpenAI, LLMs, Hugging Face, Bloom, foundational model, and so on. In our case, what we want to do is we want to get some help from the expert. And once again, that expert is ChatGPT. So in ChatGPT, you can say, okay, which platform is better? Initially, I also asked questions, should I use OpenAI and build the bot? It says, no, doesn't make sense that we use OpenAI. So now I'm saying, okay, Dialogflow and Rasa, which one is better? And it will create a comparison table between both the platforms. And when I look at it, what I find is Dialogflow gives a lot of features out of the box. So you have to do less work. See, here my business is facing problem. I want to build the chatbot fast and release it soon. So time to market is my first priority. Although Rasa gives a lot of customization, time to market is not as high as Dialogflow. Time to market means how much time you take to ship your product, which is chatbot in this case, to market. How much time you take to complete this project. That is time to market. And it's a very important parameter. Training data, since Dialogflow is a Google's platform, it has vast amount of training data. Here you have to do some manual training. Dialogflow is cloud-based, so directly you can upload it to cloud. Here Rasa, you have to build it and you have to kind of host it on your own. Okay. So let's see other differences. Integrations, once again, Dialogflow provides better integration. So if you read this carefully, by the way, I'm not gonna go into all these one by one. You can read this and you will realize yourself that Dialogflow is better for our use case. We did not use OpenAI's LLM, etc., because our problem is not like a generative AI type of problem. Our problem is user is placing an order, he's asking for tracking, etc. It's like very specific actions. And for that, Dialogflow is the best. Then I got some confidence that Dialogflow is something I should use. But I still want to do more research just to get a confirmation that I'm making a right choice. So naturally, I would think, which companies use Dialogflow? If Dialogflow is not used by other companies, then it means it would have some problem. So this is what I do. I always make sure the technology I'm using is mature, it is stable, it is used in the industry. Okay, then I'm not doing experiments for that company. Okay, here I ask this question and it immediately tells me Domino's is using Dialogflow, Ticketmaster, AirAsia. There are so many companies which are using Dialogflow. After reading that, after confirming these companies are using it, I am now damn sure that I have confidence on Dialogflow. I can go ahead and use it for my project. All right, let's move on to the next step, which is, I'm seeing this graph, folks. So many people are watching my videos. They're not subscribed. If you can subscribe to this channel, it will mean a lot to me. It might be a small thing for you, but it's going to make a huge difference in our life. All right, now let's do our Dialogflow setup. I typed Dialogflow in Google. It is taking me to this particular website. And here, it has information on two different versions of Dialogflow, which is CX and ES, all right? And now I'm again confused. Which one is better for my needs, okay? And these two versions are actually a lot different in the way they work. And they have this featured list. And when I compared it, I did not get much idea. So what I did is, again, I went to my consultant friend, ChatGPT. I said, look, I want to build this chatbot. I want to have just two features. My budget is limited. You need to tell your condition, your situation to ChatGPT. Can you suggest me which is better? And it is saying Dialogflow ES is better because number one, cost. Cost of ES is much lesser compared to CX. If you look at CX, their pricing is, I think, it's a bit costlier. Per, I think, 10 chat session, they charge something like $2, which is kind of costly. So I will go with ES, and you can just compare other factors why ChatGPT is saying you should use ES and not CX. Okay. So once you say I have Dialogflow ES ready to go, you can just click on go to console, or you can just type directly dialogflow.cloud.com. You will have to log in using your Google credential. If you don't have a Google account, you need to create it. And once you create that account, see, let me open this in incognito mode. It will say sign in using Google. So here you can sign in and then you will come here. Okay. Now there is this concept of agent. So I have already built this chatbot, so it is showing this, but let me create a new one. So here I will say create a new agent. So new agent is essentially your new chatbot. Okay. And here my chatbot name is Mira chatbot for food delivery. I know it's a long name, but whatever. and then I can just say create. So when you create this, it will use Google Cloud actually. So this project is already on the cloud. You are not building locally, by the way. You are already building this particular project on the cloud. So it already created a Google Cloud project. So if you go to settings here, this is the project ID on Google Cloud. If you have used Google Cloud before, you will get what I'm talking about. But anyways, my agent or my kind of basic framework for my chatbot is ready. And if you look at intents, it has two intents. So before I go here, let's understand what exactly is the intent. Let's understand intents by going over some examples. I use this bank called PNC Bank here in US, and when I call them for any help, usually they will give me pre-canned list of options, such as you want to check your payment, recent activity, lost or stolen card. This is not new. I think you must be experiencing these things for your banking needs, and these are sort of like a fixed pre-canned option that you can choose from, and these five are nothing but the intent. Okay, so let's say if you have an NLP chatbot and it says, how can I help you? You might say, I want to make a payment. Then it will ask you a few other questions. Make a payment here is an intent. When a person is coming to a chatbot, they might have different intent or intention, such as they want to make a payment, they want to check their balance, they want to report a stolen card or lost card. These are intent. So it's a fancy word, folks, but actually you know what this is. It's like a main function. It's like, what do you want to do? So you have this natural language, English. From that, you want to derive or you want to map that sentence with specific action that your backend should take. Okay, so that is your intent. In another conversation, you might say, can you check my recent activity? Here, checking recent activity is an intent. Whatever I have outlined here, these five things, these are intent. In our case, you will say, okay, place me a new order. So placing new order is an intent. Then you can say, I want to add 2 pav bhaji and 1 pizza. So when we design the backend, you will get more better understanding. Adding these items into your order is also an intent. Okay. Then you can say, I want to add mango lassi. That is intent. So these two are same intent. This is a different intent. This is like you are beginning a new order, whereas you are adding items to existing order. And when you say that's all, you mean complete my order. So that is your intention. I want you to complete my order and tell me how much money you are going to charge me. So that is order complete intent. I hope it is clear. You can pause this video if you're not getting it. It's really a simple concept. Then bot will say, okay, I place your order. In scenario 2, you might also say, hey, remove vada pav from my order. So removing vada pav, okay, that means you are intending order remove. Okay, so order remove is kind of like a function or intention. You might say, hey, please get rid of pizza. You might use a different word. Okay, you can say remove vada pav, get rid of pizza, I don't want biryani. All of these mean the same intent, which is order remove. So in Dialogflow, we will map this. We will map different English sentences that you can use for a specific intent. So we'll say these 10 sentences mean this specific intent. And don't worry, it's a NLP tool. So it's not like you have to specify all possible options. It will figure out using its NLP capability. Then you can say, okay, track my order. Okay, so here the intent is track order. Okay, so it's just a mapping between what user says and what action will be taken by a chatbot or your backend. Now let's understand the concept of entity. Folks, if you're following the NLP playlist, you already know what entities are, but let's look at entities in our context. So here, when you say add 2 pav bhaji and 1 pizza to the order, let's say if you make this call to a backend, Python backend got an idea that, all right, you want to add few items to the order. But what are those items? Here the items are pav bhaji and pizza. And the other thing that it wants to know is what is the quantity of these items. So quantity is 2 and 1. So here these two things are needed so that you can call your Python function. You might have this function add to order where you need two pieces of information: name of the item, the quantity. So intent alone is not sufficient. Intent is what? Order add. So using order add, maybe you call this function in Python backend, add to order. And don't worry, we'll add all this. It will be very clear, folks. If you're confused right now, just hold on. I will make things very, very clear. No rocket science here. Just think, intent order add means some Python backend function we are calling, which is add to order. And as an argument, it needs this information. How do you get that information? You get that through entities. So here, pav bhaji is one entity, which is called food item. 2 and 1, these are another quantity, which is called number. It's a system generated entity. In Dialogflow number, you can also define custom entity. You can call it, okay, these are quantity of food dash quantity. Okay, so I think it's now clear. Let me give you one more example, which I have discussed in our NLP tutorial playlist before. You have this particular sentence. There are various entities present here. Okay, what are those entities? If you remember from NLP playlist, just pause this video and make a guess. I want to test your knowledge. All right, I guess you made a right guess here. Elon Musk is an entity. It's a person entity. Tesla is another entity, which is a company. Then 40 could be another entity, which is a number. You have this statement, for example, Michael Bloomberg founded Bloomberg. So Michael Bloomberg is a person and Bloomberg is a company name. We used to use this a lot whenever we discuss this name entity disambiguation problem. It is called NED, where you have Bloomberg founded Bloomberg. So word is same, Bloomberg, but first one means a person, second one means the entity. We can say Pandeyji founded Pandeyji. Pandeyji is the name of the restaurant, but the owner is Pandeyji. So that's a person entity. This one is a business or a company entity. So this is a playlist I was talking about. If you go to YouTube NLP playlist, here in this particular video, see, we have a lot of videos where we discuss entities, but in this particular video, we did named entity recognition, and Dialogflow is internally using some of these techniques to recognize those entities. Once you have these entities, you can call Python backend function very easy. Okay. In the second use case of tracking order, the 9922 number that you gave is an order ID entity. And then you're taking these two and calling some Python backend function saying track order, and you're giving this order ID. So you are kind of getting a sense of this whole chatbot development process. You have a dialogue, which is a conversation. From conversation, you are extracting two things: intent, entity. And intent is mapped to some Python function. Entity is nothing but the argument to that Python function. All right. By default, you get two intents in Dialogflow. So I clicked on intents and I'm seeing these two. Okay, what are these exactly? Let me check welcome intent. Here, there are a couple of sections. There is context, events, training phrases, and text response. Let's look at training phrases first. Here, it says what are the possible prompts that are accepted as part of that intent. So when here on the top, when I say hey ya, it is saying greetings, how can I assist? And you see it matched the intent default welcome intent. So whenever I say hey ya, it will look into the current list of intents, and based on the training phrases that you have provided, it will match that. And this response that you're saying, greetings, how can I assist, is coming from here, you see. So in the text response, you have these 4 possible options, and randomly it will give you different text responses. So let me try another one. I will say howdy, okay, and it will say good day, what can I do? So you can see that here, see. So you understand, I'm typing some text in chatbot. It is matching it with all the intents. So I have 2 intents, default welcome and default fallback. And it is matching it with the welcome intent, and whatever is the response for the welcome intent, it will give you that. In our chatbot, we want to start a conversation by saying choose from new order and track order. So I will change the default welcome intent, and I will keep this particular thing same. You can say hi, hello to begin the conversation, but in the response, I will remove all these and I will say this. In the second response, it's just a variation, by the way. So every time you don't want to say the same thing, that's why you are giving 3 different variations, so user get different experience all the time. Okay, when I hit save, sometimes it will take some time, so you need to wait a little bit. Now when I say hey yeah, see, it is giving you one of these responses. What can I do? You can say new order or track order. And by the way, all these responses I copied from the text file, which you can download by clicking on the link which you have in a video description. I have given a zip folder with all the assets, and if you expand that folder, it will be a zip file, and if you extract that zip file, you will get this particular directory. In that, go to Dialogflow assets, open training phrases.txt, and that file has all the 3 text which I just copy pasted. Okay, that is for default welcome intent. Okay, now this looks good. What I want to do next is, let's go back, click here and check fallback intent. In the fallback intent, the purpose of this intent is, if chatbot doesn't understand what you're saying, it will give one of these responses. So if you say, what is the temperature today? Okay, that's not the purpose of this chatbot. The chatbot doesn't know how to handle that. It will say, sorry, could you say again? And that is coming from here. See, one of these responses. It will randomly pick from one of these responses. So what you want to do here is, I want to delete all of these. Okay, so let me delete. And in the default fallback intent, I want to say this. So in the fallback intent, I want to say, I did not understand what you said. Please choose from new order or track order. And when you're placing new order, by the way, make sure you're placing order from only these items, because remember, our menu is limited. We have only 9 items, food items. So we want to say this to user so that they are kind of guided in their conversation. I will hit save. And now when I say what is the temperature, it will say, I didn't understand. Look, I don't know how to handle that temperature question, but I can take your order. So you can say either new order, track order, and whatever. Okay, so my default intent and my welcome intent looks good. Now let's create our first intent, which is create an intent which is new order. So it is new order. So when you're placing a new order, what kind of text you will give? Okay, so let's try it. So first you will start your conversation in your chatbot saying hi. It will tell you new order or track order. What do you think user will say? User will either say new order or track order. They might say new order. Okay, so you want to have this as a training phrase here. So you can click on add training phrases and add this as a new order. Now what else user might say? Okay, they can say place a new order, maybe. Okay, they might say, let me just copy. Yeah, I just put 2 things here, new order and place new order. If you are looking for more training responses, what you can do is you can go to ChatGPT and you can say this in 5 different ways, and ChatGPT will help you generate those training phrases. And if you have more training phrases, it's going to help you. Okay, so it is advised that you have as many training phrases as you can. Okay, now let's try this thing. So I will say hi and it will say new order. I will say new order. Okay, I have seen that Dialogflow sometimes takes time, so there is a delay here. It is kind of training the agent. So once it is trained, maybe we'll just wait for a few seconds and then we'll try. Okay, let's try again. So see, now it worked. It is saying new order. So here it matched the intent. So here you are typing whatever you will type in your chatbot, then it is matching the intent here, and if you have any response, it will give you a response here. So what do you want to give in a response? So let's add that. So here in the text response, I want to say this. Okay, and once again, you have this file, folks, so feel free to copy paste things from the file, and then once you learn, of course, you can have your own responses. So here when someone says new order, I want to say starting a new order, I meaning the chatbot, and you will guide people. See, it's important that while building a chatbot, you do some guiding. You have to give them clues on what they should type next. That way the conversation will be very clear. So now we have new order. So let me start all over again. And by the way, I will talk about context later, but let's see hi. Okay, and now it is saying new order, so you will say new order. Now it is saying, see this thing, you can start a new order by saying things like I want 2 pizzas, 1 mango lassi. Also specify quantity, because you want user to specify quantity. Sometimes they say I want pizzas, but how many pizzas? If you call a pizza shop, they will tell you, right? So same thing should happen here. You need to clearly say specify quantity for each of these items. Okay, so once again, these are the 2 alternate responses. So at any time, it will just kind of randomly say, see here, now it is saying starting a new order. All right, this looks good. Now let's create the tracking order. I already have the bot built, so I'll just copy paste the name here just to save the time. Okay, so track order. So tracking order will be our new intent. And here in the tracking order, what are the training phrases? So once again, I'm just going to copy paste from here. So you will say one of these 3 things. Okay, so check the status of my order. That could be one thing. Then the other one is track order and track existing order. Once again, if you want to add more training phrases, you can say to ChatGPT, how about this? And it will generate 5 different variations. So maybe you can include one of these variations. I'm feeling lazy right now, so I'll just say done. And when someone says, I want to track my order, what would be your response as a chatbot? You will ask for a tracking ID, correct? Okay, so let's see. Let's start again. So I will say, hey, it is saying new order or track order. When I say track order, see, it is okay. Once again, it is taking, I've seen this, it is taking time. So let's wait for a few seconds.
A few moments later.
All right, after some delay, it is working now. When you say track order, it is matching the track order intent. But what should be your response? Your response should be, what is your tracking ID? Give me your tracking ID, things like that. So let's add that in the text response here. You can say, what is the tracking ID? Or let's say order ID. Other things you can say, I can just copy paste from the other chatbot which I have already built. Sure, please enter your order IDs, things like that. Once again, you can use ChatGPT for this training purpose. All right, now let's test the whole flow again. You are saying hi, it is saying new order, track order. You are saying track order. Now enter your order ID and you will say whatever, 45, 60, whatever. Now this one, it is not recognizing, so we'll look into this a little later. But at least now my intent classification is done for these 2 use cases. It is able to recognize if I'm talking about tracking the order or new order. Okay, so once again, you can say fresh order and say it is recognizing it is new order. You're talking about new order. You can say track my order please. And okay, sometimes I know it behaves weird. It depends on adding more training phrases, but it will do good overall. And it is doing this intent classification. So the question might be, how does it work exactly? Whatever you're typing here, it doesn't have to be exactly the same thing that you gave as a training phrase. So there is some kind of machine learning here which Dialogflow uses. So let me go over that. What happens is when you give some training phrases, so for new order, I gave 3 training phrases: new order, place new order, and fresh order. Okay, Google's Dialogflow will generate more training phrases internally. So these are the 3 I gave, but internally by using ML model, it will generate more training phrases. And it will train an agent so that tomorrow if someone types something different, it can still recognize. Same thing if you say tracking order, let's say these are the 3 training phrases I give. Internally, it will create more training phrases and it will train the agent. Once the agent is trained, when you give any new text in the chatbot on the top right, when I say order status please, the ML model for intent classification will kick in and it will try to classify this particular text in one of these intents. So you are essentially doing intent classification here. And it will say, you know what, this is track order intent. For a different use case, it will say, this is a new order intent. So this way, it can do intent classification using its internal model. And if you want to know more about it, you can just go to ChatGPT and you can say, what classification model does Dialogflow uses for intent classification, and it will give you some information. Okay, so see here it is using IRM, like intent recognition model, and here it uses some of the NLU, natural language understanding techniques for doing that. So you can do some reading on this one, but so far things are looking good as far as our basic workflow is concerned. Now let's improve some of our intents and add new ones. Let's look at the flow of the conversation. So if you go back to our presentation, okay, you will notice that at some point we had this different scenarios. So the first scenario that we had was this: how can I help? New order. What would you like to order? We covered up till this point. Now user will say, I want 2 pav bhaji and add pizza. So let's handle this particular dialogue. And for that, I will create a new intent called order.add. So you are adding items to order. Okay, so we did first level classification, new order, track order. Now if you have a new order, you are adding items to the order. And how do you add that? I will have to give different training expiration. Okay, and those training expressions are, user might say, give me 2 plates of chole and 1 cheese pizza. I know you're getting water in your mouth, but now let's check this. What is happening here is 2 and 1, it is already recognizing them as a entity, which is very good. So 2 and 1 are called system entities, sys.number. These are default entities. For example, email, phone number, these are all generic entities which Dialogflow can recognize on its own. Okay, let's give another training phrase. What do you do, by the way, when you place an order online? What kind of statement you say? Just add all those statements here. I like to order 2 plates of chole, 1 cheese pizza, 3 mango lassi. Now in this case, it did not recognize this one as a sys number, but that's okay. You can double click and you can just say sys number. See, these are all numbers. So let's recognize this also as a sys number. And here we want these to be one single entity. So here it says sys number 1 and 2. I don't want that. So you will just left mouse click, highlight it and just say sys number. And you can also type this sys.number. See, this is how you assign entities within the statement. So I have these 2 training phrases. Let's hit save and let's create an entity for food item, because see, the quantity it is already recognizing, but food item is something that we have to define on our own. For that, I will go to entities. I will create the new entity. I will call it food item and I will define synonyms. I will do also fuzzy matching, by the way. Fuzzy matching means if it is loosely matching, then also, you know, match it. So see, fuzzy matching is a type of parameters which will approximately match. And here the entity that you want to add is, let's say, I already have those entities here, so I'm just gonna copy paste just to save some time on recording. So how would you say pav bhaji? Pav bhaji, you can say bhaji pav. You can also say Mumbai pav bhaji, maybe Mumbai pav bhaji. Pav bhaji. Then comes chole bhature. So if you have chole bhature, what are the different synonyms of chole bhature? You can just say chole. You can say C-double-H chole. You can say chole puri instead of bhature. You can also say puri chole. Okay, variety of synonyms that you can give. All right, so I'm not going to waste time here, and I will just add it and I'll be back after a few seconds. Okay, there was some manual work, but finally I have defined all my synonyms. Once again, you can use ChatGPT for synonym. Let's say you want synonyms for rava dosa. Give me synonyms for rava dosa, and it will give you that. So you can just copy paste these things into here and just hit this. Okay, now our food item entity is defined. Let's go back to intent, and in the order add, let's start assigning that entity. So here, just left mouse click chole bhature, assign that food item. So I will just say this is food item. Cheese pizza is also a food item. Mango lassi is also a food item. This is how you assign entities. Same thing here. You have to do this in every training phase. If you do your setup in a proper way, your chatbot will work very smoothly. So you have to be careful and not mess it up here. Sometimes people assign a wrong entity and they see weird results and they are like, oh, this is not working. Well, it's a setup issue. I added all the training phrases. You can see there are 2 pages worth of training phrases here. And I assigned the food items here. So here you'll just click on it, for example, like click, and then when you assign that entity, it will do the work. So many times when you're adding a training phase, it will not automatically recognize those two. So the way you do it is same method. Highlight it, then just select food item, then highlight the whole item, say food item. This is how you assign entities in your statements. If you notice, I also put some additional statements such as, additionally, I would like to add 2 mango lassi, because in the conversation, people will say, order me 2 chole bhature and 1 samosa. And then after some time, they'll say, okay, add 2 pizza, or additionally, I need mango lassi. I have added those kind of statements here as well in the same intent. You can go to ChatGPT. You can say, this is my phrase, and say this in 5 different ways. And you can use all of these training phrases as well. It will be some manual work, but trust me, it is very well worth it. And all of these training phrases are available in the file that I'm going to give you. So all you have to do is copy paste, and maybe you add a couple of more training phrases as well on your own. Then hit save, and now we are all set. How do you test it? Well, you have the agent here. So let's start a conversation. You'll say hi, new order, and then just say, give me 2 rava dosa and 1 plate of samosa. And now see what happened is, it first of all recognized that as order.add intent. So that part worked pretty well. Also in terms of parameter, see, food item, rava dosa and samosa were recognized as a food item, and 2 and 1 were number. After doing this, you can say, hey, add 1 mango lassi too. And see, once again, order.add one mango lassi. So mango lassi is recognized as a food item and one is a number. You can see the entire response in terms of your JSON API response. This is something we'll be using when we write our fast API backend. But here you can see food item is mango lassi, this is one, and so on. So this is working as expected. Now what can happen is the conversations are not perfect. They will say, hey, add pizzas. Well, but how many pizzas? They didn't specify it. Okay. And here, see, the chatbot is not smart enough. It should say how many pizzas you want. Okay. Or specify food quantity. For this, you have to make both of these a required parameter. Okay. So here, go down here and just make them a required parameter. And if they're not specifying any parameter, you need to have a prompt. You can say, please clearly specify a food quantity. And you can just give example. I want 2 pizzas or 3 chole bhature. Or you can say it using word. You don't have to specify the number all the time. So that is the prompt. For the food item, you can say, please specify food item from this list. And that list is the list we can get it from the default intent, I think. Okay. Not default intent. I think in new.order we supplied that list. So you can say, please specify it from this list. Now, when say, hey, add pizzas, I previously forgot to save it. So whenever you're adding something, make sure you hit the save. Now when I say, hey, add pizzas, it will say, please specify the food quantity. And without that, it's not gonna work. You can say, hey, I want 3 samosa, but let's say I forgot to write samosa. I want 3 what? Okay, I want 3 samosa. Okay, somehow it's recognizing this as a food item pizza by default. I don't know why it is doing that. But let's take another example. I want 2 plates of pani puri. So we don't have pani puri in our food menu. So now it is saying, please specify the food items from this list, because it did not get that food item. And because of the prompt that you have, it is giving that guidance to the user. So far it looks good. Now let's discuss something very important called context. Let's say you have conversation like this, new order or track order, and directly you say remove vada pav. Your chatbot will be confused. What are you talking? Remove vada pav from where? So human conversations will always have a context. Context means whatever I previously said, you need to have that in memory. And then when I say new thing, you need to relate that to what I said previously. So here, hey, remove vada pav doesn't make any sense. But if the same conversation is like this, see, new order, what would you like to have? Vada pav 2 biryani. What else? Now when I say, hey, remove vada pav, that makes sense because you have a clear context. So we need to define the context in Dialogflow. Here, when I start a new order, your context is new order. You can define it in any possible way. I'm going to give the name ongoing order. This context name, you can, whatever, it can be ABC, whatever name you want to give. I will say it is an ongoing order context. When you start a new tracking, that is an ongoing tracking. So in that ongoing order, you can have other intents such as you might add things to your order, you might remove things from your order. When you have ongoing tracking, you might give multiple tracking IDs. But let's say if your context is ongoing tracking and if you say, hey, remove vada pav, that doesn't make sense. Both will be confused. So whenever you say a statement like, hey, remove vada pav, 1 vada pav 2 biryani, it has to be in this kind of context. Okay, so we already defined new order and order dot add intent. So this is order dot add intent, but this has to be in the context ongoing order. Remove should also be in the context ongoing order. So let's define these things here in our Dialogflow. And the way I do that is, whenever you are starting a new order, in the context you have input context and output context. So in the output context, you will say ongoing order. See, it's just a simple text you type in. And this 5 means conversation turns, lifespan, for how many iterations, meaning when I say, hey, how are you? Hello, whatever, that is one conversation turn. For example, this is one conversation turn, okay? Bot and user, that is pair, that is one. This is another conversation turn. This is third conversation turn. 5 is good enough. If you want to edit it, you can just go and say 7, okay? I'll just keep this as a default value, ongoing order. So that is the context. Whenever you say new order, for example, look at this. Whenever you say new order, you are starting that new context. That's why it is an output context. But when I come to this intent, okay, adding an order, my ongoing order context is already set. So it will be input as well as output context. So let's do that. Here you can hit save and then go to your order add. And in both input and output context, it will be ongoing. So ongoing order and ongoing order, okay? Because after you say add 3 biryani, you can say, yes, add 2 mango lassi. You can keep on adding one by one. That's why it is in the output as well. And when you do that, you will see that context appearing on the right hand side. So let's do that. So I'll say, hey, then I will say new order. When I say new order, the context is ongoing order. Now I will say I want 2 pizzas and the context is still ongoing order, okay? So you can keep on adding that. Now let's add the order dot remove intent. So here I will say order dot remove, because you might potentially remove. And now we will use a different convention, which is whenever you are adding any intent which also has a context. So here there will be ongoing order context, okay, input and output both. So whenever you have context in your intent, I will say context colon ongoing order. This is just a naming convention I'm using, okay, nothing fancy here as such. And the same thing, I will now change order dot add and I will say context ongoing order. Okay, whenever you see this rotating cogwheel, you have to wait because it's kind of training, and that was the reason some of the times these things don't work. You have to wait till this rotation is complete. Okay, so I have now total 4 intents. These 2 have context set in it. Okay, what's going to happen in remove context? Let's add some training phrases. Once again, to save the time, I will use I'll just copy paste things from here. So let's say this, and now you'll realize that it is auto recognizing this pav bhaji and samosa as one of the entities. So I will add all of this and we'll be back after some time. I also assigned the entities. Most of it was assigned already, but if it doesn't, then make sure you are just highlighting and assigning it. In the response, you can say removed $food item. Hit save, and I'll show you what happens due to this. When you say remove pizza, it will say pizza removed. Okay, so I can say remove samosa, for example, and it will say removed samosa. So that is what happens when you give this kind of text response. What I did is, just to save time on recording, I already added the other intents, which was tracking order, for example, right? So here the context, I have defined it as ongoing tracking, which will be set whenever you are placing a track order. See, output context is ongoing tracking. Then here, I think in the text response, you should say, what is your order ID? So I have added all of those things here. And here in the file you will see all those things. So make sure you are using this file, adding all the responses and the intent in an appropriate way. And looks like my chatbot is kind of ready. We have still not hooked this with a backend, so it will not do a complete end-to-end work, but at least we can now check the whole flow. So I will say hi. It is saying new order or track order, which is good. Then I will say new order. Okay, I want 2 chole bhature and 1 mango lassi, and it is matching the intent. Also in the food item and numbers you are getting the right quantities. Oh, add 1 samosa as well, and once again it is matching that 1 samosa, so that is accurate. Please remove mango lassi. We want to check if it is matching the removed mango lassi. See, now sometimes people can say remove mango lassi. They might make a spelling error. So instead of 2s, I'm saying 1 lassi. Okay, that did not quite match actually. Let's see. Yes, so mango lassi, it did not recognize that. So let's see what's going on. So in our entities, food items, we have mango lassi. So I've seen this. Sometimes it doesn't work. You have to do more training and it might work. So mango lassi synonym is specified. Let's check our intent, the remove intent. Do we have that kind of training phrase here? Remove pizza from my order. We don't have just remove. I'll just add that remove samosa, and I'll just say save. It will require a lot of training iterations, folks. So you have to be patient, supply as many training phrases as you can. This is still spinning. We'll wait till that stops. Okay, now let's try it. Remove mango lassi. Okay, please can you remove mango lassi? This is still ongoing order. It did not match the food item. Why is it not matching? So this is remove samosa, remove mango lassi. Okay, looks like, folks, that could be a delay. I have seen this. There is a delay, but we are going to assume this is all set up. Okay, working it. And then you can say that's it. So it will match the order complete intent, which I have created already, by the way. So see, order complete, just to save time. So right now, if you're practicing, make sure you are adding this particular intent, order complete, where the input context is ongoing order. And see, when the people, they finish the order, what would they say? Place an order. No, thank you. Because when you're adding any item, let me show you that part here. What you will say is, in the text response, you will say anything else. Right? When you call someone for food order, they'll say, okay, 2 pizza, 1 mango lassi. They'll say anything else. You'll say, yeah, 1 chole bhature too. Okay, that's the reason you added anything else. And in the other intent, now you have to say, let's see where it is, order complete. You will say place an order, no thank you. Let me just show you here. So you will start with new order. Okay, you will say 2 pizzas and 1 mango lassi. Now you're saying anything else. Do you want anything else? You will say nope. That's it. And it will match order complete intent. So it will say here, awesome, your order is placed. Say awesome, your order is placed. Here is your order ID. Okay, so we have kind of a rough skeleton ready. If you want to test it, you will go to integrations and here click on web demo. You'll just say enable. After enabling, you'll click on this and this kind of chatbot will come up. You will say hi and you'll say new order. You will say 2 pizza, 1 lassi, anything else. You'll say yes, vada pav. Okay, see, I did not say how many vada pav. That's why it's saying Yes, one vada pav. You have to say 1, 2, anything else? Nope. That's it. And now see, awesome, your order is placed. So the skeleton is working. Now let's work on integrating our backend. And how do you do that? Well, you do it through something called fulfillment. So here in order add, if you scroll down, you will see this fulfillment section. And here I'm going to say enable webhook for this intent. What is webhook? When you add anything into your order, you want to call a backend. Okay, so let me hit save here, and then we will go to fulfillment. Here in the fulfillment, you can have Google Cloud function. If you have deployed your backend as a Google Cloud function, you can use that. But I'm going to use a webhook. In the webhook, you have to specify the URL where your backend server is running. Okay, now you will need some knowledge of Fast API for this. So just go to YouTube and just say code basics Fast API, and you will find this tutorial. If you don't know Fast API, I suggest you watch it so that your fundamentals are clear. I will still go over some of the fundamentals here in this video, but that is what we are using for the fulfillment. All right, so our overall architecture is going to be Dialogflow will recognize the intent and the entities. Then we will call our Fast API backend server. That will be a Python code which will save or retrieve records from MySQL database. As a prerequisite for building backend, we need to set up our database first. We are using MySQL. I have installed MySQL Workbench. If you don't know about MySQL, etc., go to YouTube, say code basics MySQL tutorial, you'll find my tutorial. So it will tell you how to install and just the basics of it. We are going to import the database for our food business. And the way you do that is you go to server, data import, import from self-contained file. Now the folder that you have downloaded, it has this database subfolder which will have this particular SQL file. So just copy the path of that SQL file here. Okay, I'm going to use that and just say hit import. Let's see if we need to select any other options. Yeah, this looks good. And that will import the database. You hit the refresh icon and you will see this database here. Right click and say set as default schema. Now in terms of tables, we have food item table. If you click on this particular icon, you will see all the items that we have, which is see pav bhaji, chole bhature, etc. These are item IDs and these are the price. Let's say $6, $7, etc. Then you can go to orders table, click here, and we already have some existing orders in this table. So the way order works is, let's say someone ordered this 40. So 40 order ID has what? So 40 order ID has item number 1, and item number 1 is pav bhaji actually. So this person ordered pav bhaji, how many quantity? 2. And then the second ID he has is 3, which is pizza. So he ordered 1 pizza. Okay, so he ordered 2 pav bhaji and 1 pizza. So that is one order. And the second order is this 41. So you can kind of understand the design here. And the total price is for this one, pav bhaji. So 1 pav bhaji is $6. So 2 will be 12. So you see 12 here. Then similarly, item number 4 is, let's say, mango lassi. Price for 1 mango lassi is 5. And since he ordered 3, 5 into 3, it will be $15. It's pretty straightforward database design here. And the third table is order tracking, where you will see in what status the order is. When someone places an order, it will be in progress. Then when the order is ready, it will be in ready status. And then when order gets delivered, let's say Zomato or Swiggy guy comes, picks up the order, and then when they're delivering it to your home, in between the order is in transit status. So there are various status. See, for example, this order is in transit, and when order gets delivered, it will be in delivered status. So that's the basic setup we have for the database. You can go through the columns, etc., just to understand database design. If you click on this second icon, see, you will see primary key, etc. I hope you have some basic SQL knowledge. If you don't, once again, go to YouTube, look for any MySQL tutorial. You can say code basics MySQL tutorial. Just get your fundamentals clear. Otherwise, see, it's pretty intuitive anyways. So as you work on this particular tutorial, you will get more understanding. Now let's do our backend setup. We are going to use PyCharm as an editor. If you don't have PyCharm installed, just Google PyCharm Community Edition and install it for Windows or Mac, whatever OS you have. So this is a community version. You should click on this download. And then when you launch it, it will ask you to open an existing project. Okay. So here, maybe you can open the code that I have already given it to you, or I think the better idea is you create a new project. Okay, so what you will do is you will go to, let's say, C directory. Let's say I have this code folder. Okay, and I have now created a new folder called food chatbot. Let's create that folder, and then you just say open. And from open, you will select that directory, C code, and then food chatbot, and OK. So you're opening that particular folder here. So here in this folder, we already see this file main.py, which is good enough. Here, first thing we are going to do is install couple of modules. So those modules are Fastapi, first of all. So let me show you how to install it. Probably you know the way to install it in Python, which is pip install. You will say pip install Fastapi all. This is how you will install Fastapi and UVCon, which is something we will use to run the Fastapi backend. So first run that. And if you are looking for some documentation, you can go to Google, just say Fastapi tutorial. You will find this particular link. And they have a very nice page. You can see all the help here. Pip install Fastapi all. When you do that, it will install two things: the Fastapi package itself and UVCon, which is something we'll use to run the backend server. The other thing you want to use is MySQL connector. So MySQL, let's see what is the name. So MySQL, it is called MySQL. I have, by the way, requirement.txt file just in case. So here, the requirement.txt file says that MySQL connector Python. So let me copy paste that. Okay, so these are the two modules you're installing. I already have it installed. That's why you see this message. You can also use my requirement.txt file, which you have downloaded here. Once you've put that file, let's say I copy this file here. This is another way of installing those two modules. I think you should have some basics clear for Python. You should know how to do these things. So here, let me go to this particular folder. It's called food. And once I'm in that folder, I can also do, since I have a requirement.txt file, what this will do is essentially it will just install these two modules which are specified. So either you install manually or through requirement.txt file. All right, my installation part is over. Now for Fastapi, we will set up the basic server. Once again, you can go to YouTube and look at my video, or if you don't want to go through the whole video, let's copy paste this code and run our first server. Okay, so that is in main.py. So this is the code that we wrote. We imported Fastapi class from the module, and here we are just writing a basic routine that is the entry point for our backend server. So just say save and then go to your console. So here I will run it from terminal here. Okay, and the way you do that is by saying UVCon main app reload, and when you do that, it will run a server on this particular address 127.0.0.1:8000. And when I go and look at that server here in my, see, it says hello world. By the way, localhost and 127.0.0.1, they both are same thing. And when I hit this particular URL, it will go to this server because this server is running on 8000 port, and it will print this particular message. You can just change the message if you want. Okay, so my basic fast API backend is all set up. Basically the skeleton is set up. Now let's add our code. And in terms of our code, what we're going to do is we'll first tackle the track order. Okay, so track order is you give an order ID and it will tell you which status the order is in. We looked at the database already. We have two orders, 40 and 41. So we will say, okay, 40, then it should return deliver. 41, it should return in transit. So we'll tackle that piece first because that's relatively easier. So let's go to our Dialogflow and set up the fulfillment. Okay, so I will go here. Let me just merge it here and go to fulfillment. Just say enable the webhook, and here you are going to specify the URL. What is our URL? Our URL is this. It is HTTP. Okay. See, we are seeing an error. Fulfillment URL must be HTTPS. So HTTPS is a secure HTTP protocol. What we are running right now is HTTP. So that's not gonna work. And how do you now set up HTTPS? So what I did is I asked this question to ChatGPT. And ChatGPT told me that I need to install something called ngrok. Okay, so just go to Google and just say ngrok install. I'll tell you what it does. It's a simple tool. So you go to here, then for Windows, I have a Windows machine, just download this file. So when you download this file, obviously it is a zip file. When you extract it all, it will give you this .exe file. So this .exe file, I'm going to go into my directory and copy. So in the food chatbot, I will copy that file here. This file will create something called an secure tunnel. Now, what is secure tunnel? Let me just show it so that you get an idea. So first of all, you need to open a command prompt. So I will open a Windows command prompt, by the way. So this is Windows command prompt. Okay. And you will go to C code food, and here you see ngrok.exe. So ngrok HTTP 8000. Our server is running on 8000 port, and the protocol that we are using right now is HTTP. So let's see what happens when I do this. When I do this, it will give me, let me just make, it will give me a mapping of this HTTP to HTTPS. What I mean by this is I can access the same server using this link. It's like an alias. It is creating another link, but this particular link now is a secure link. Okay. And you will do HTTPS. Okay, no connection made. Okay, it says bad gateway. Maybe I should do it again. So let's do it. Oh yeah, I made a mistake. It should be 8000. There was a typo here. It should be 8000. I said 800. See, now you are seeing the same message. So what is the difference now? Now you are calling it using HTTPS. Previously you were calling it using HTTP. Okay, so at least this requirement is cleared out. I can go and copy paste this in my Dialogflow. So in Dialogflow, we'll be using this particular URL as our webhook. Auth, all these things, you can keep it empty and just hit save. Now to write the implementation for track order handling, I went to my best friend, Mr. C, yes, ChatGPT, and I said that I want to write Python code using Fastapi backend. I have two intents, order add, order remove. Let's write function for it. And ChatGPT does pretty good job with writing these handlers. Okay, so all we are going to do is copy paste this code. Of course, we'll understand what this code is. We'll copy paste, and it's folks. It's completely okay to use ChatGPT as your helper because it helps you save time. You might not know the syntax. You might not know that to get intent you have to go to query result and all these parameters, but ChatGPT knows it. So you can use ChatGPT's knowledge and expertise here, and it is completely okay to use it to write code. In fact, if you don't use it to write code, you will be behind because you will spend a lot of time figuring like syntax related things out. So here I copy pasted that routine. Okay, and now see here ChatGPT kind of generates different type of code. So this time it generated different code, but previously when I was using it, it generated this code. So I'm just using that, and both of the codes are fine. Okay, so our main entry point in the server is handle request. So this request that you're getting will be what Dialogflow is sending. Now you'll be like, okay, where do I see Dialogflow request? Well, here you can go to Dialogflow. Okay, and if you type an intent, let's say you say hey, and if you say track order, in diagnostic info you will see that request. So let's see this request. Okay, this request has response ID, query result, then it will have intent, things like that. So query text is this, and where is query result? Okay, I think we need to, let me do this. So here in the track order, I will go and I will say fulfillment, enable webhook call for fulfillment, then only it will go and hit the backend. So just say save here, just say hi, and just say track order, and it will generate a request. So what is the request? The request looks something like this. It has intent, which is intent, and display name will have the exit intent. So if you look at our backend, that's what we are doing. So we have a payload which has a query result element. If you see here, see, this is the payload, this is the whole payload. Query result is sub element. Under query result you have intent and then display name. So under query result you have intent and display name. So you get intent. So what is your intent? Tracked or order. Okay, now what are the parameters? You need to get parameters too. So this is query result and parameters. So query result parameters. Right now parameters are empty because we are giving that parameter in the next conversation turn. So this will have the parameters which you will copy here, and you will also have the output context. The whole output context, you will grab it in this particular element. Now you can say if intent is equal to track order, then you need to fulfill means you need to say I received your response. And the way you do that is, by the way, again, syntextual sugar. You can always use ChatGPT to figure out how it should look like, and ChatGPT is telling me you can return it like this. Okay, return whatever message, and I'm going to use what ChatGPT gave me previously, which is both of these things are valid, by the way. You can say received whatever intent. Let's say you received track order, correct? So I will say received track order, and I will just put this thing so that you know that this is the intent it is written in the backend. Just say hit save. This is just a skeleton just to figure out the connection that request is going to backend and response is correctly coming back in my Dialogflow. So let's go to Dialogflow and test this out really quick. Here, track order has fulfillment enable. Previously we were saying what is the order ID, etc. You know what? I should probably enable this fulfillment on the other one, because here when you say track order, we are already asking please enter your order ID. For this we don't need to go to backend. If you remember, see, the conversation starts like, hey, what do you want to do? Now you say track order, then Dialogflow itself will say what is the order ID. So for this you don't need to go to backend. You need to go to backend to process that order ID. And if you remember, we have the second intent. I think this is the intent where we should enable Webhook. Track order context ongoing tracking. Here you will be accepting that order ID and you will be processing it. So let's say user says ID is 453. At that time, you need to enable a webhook. So what will happen when you say enable webhook? It will call this particular URL. When you call this URL, our request will come here. Then you will recognize what is the intent. So right now the intent is not track order, but it is this one. What is the intent name? Once again, copy paste from here. So this is the intent that you will get. And upon receiving that, you are saying do this thing. Okay, now let me just and exit the Zen mode. I'm in the Zen mode, by the way. I was meditating. And since we run that thing, remember we ran that UVCon main app reload. What happens now is, since you said a reload, whenever you make any code change and when you say Control S to save it, it will restart that server. So my server is already running. I don't need to run that particular command again. So now everything is set. We can in fact do our testing. So let's do it. I will say hey, okay, then track order. Okay, what is my order ID? I will say 41. And see, now it is saying received. So at least it is hitting the backend. Hooray! We checked the end-to-end connection. It is receiving this particular intent in the backend. So that part is very well tested now. But obviously, we don't want to send that dummy message. We want to send the actual status. So we have to do something here. Okay, what are we going to do? So let me go to my Zen mode. I want to meditate again. It's a focus mode. Here, let's write another function for handling order. So we'll say track order. And what should that function receive? Well, I can receive order ID directly. But what I'll do is I will write a generic function which receives these three things: intent, parameter, and output context, so that you kind of get everything in one shot. So let me get parameters first. I think parameters is enough. Parameters. This parameters is a dictionary, by the way. So I will use Python hint, type hint, and just say dictionary. I don't need intent or output context because intent is already classified here. You know it is tracking order, so you don't need to send that. And this is it. Now you will get the order ID from here. So let me do this thing here. What I will say is call track order and supply parameters. And from track order, I want to send back the response. So where is my order ID? Say I am receiving parameters. How do I get order ID from parameter? Let's go back to Dialogflow, and here let's check this diagnostic info. And see in the request, you will see that order is under query result, parameters, and order ID, and it's a dictionary. So we already get query result, parameters into parameters. So within parameters, if I say order ID, so my order ID is this. This is how you get an order ID. Once you have the order, you need to now call our database. And from database, you need to retrieve that information. Once again, I'm going to use my best friend, Mr. C. And I said, hey, I have MySQL database. which has this particular table. It has a column called status, primary key, order ID. Write a Python code that can get me a status. And look at this. It first tells me, hey dude, you need to install MySQL connector Python, which we already did. And it gave me this beautiful code. I checked it, the code works like a charm. So we will just use this particular code here. And we are going to create a separate file. By the way, I can put all my database handling in the same file, but it's always a good idea to create separate file. So I will create a new file. What should we call it? DB helper maybe. So when you hear database helper, you'll say DB helper. If you have a API helper, you'll say API underscore helper, and so on. And here I'm going to just copy paste all this code. Copy code. You'll see ChatGPT improves your productivity by a whole lot. Okay, and you got this thing here. And I'll just change the credential, etc. So you know it's my local host, my root password, and my database is called Pandey If you check in our MySQL, see Pandey. That's why I have that. And this function, I can remove this get order status because we already established a connection through this global variable. And then here we are running this function called select get order status, which takes order ID as an input. And here we are running a query. You are executing it. Fetch one, cursor close. I think this looks perfect. See, now I can call this function here. So we'll first import DB helper, and from DB helper, we'll say get order status. This will be our status here. So you can say status is this, and what should we do next? So we got the order status. Now if there is a database error, etc., you can still get none as a status. So if you have order status, then your message should look like okay, let me create this fulfillment text variable, and my message is going to look something like this. I'm just using copy paste to save time on recording, folks. But it will be the order status for order ID. This is order underscore status. We are using Python format strings here. And otherwise, you can say we found error or something, some message which accurately conveys to user that we had difficulty finding the order that you gave. And in the fulfillment text, now I can just say this. Hit Ctrl S, save, it will restart the server. Let's test the whole scenario again from our Dialogflow. I'll go here. Usually I have this habit of resetting context so that the previous chat session just clears out. I will start all over again. I'll say, hey, okay, track my order. 41 is my order. And we got some error. So let's see what happened. Okay, if you're getting any error, you can go to fulfillment status, and looks like there was some error. Failed to pass webhook JSON. Expected message object but got null. So I will go to my backend first, and I don't see any problem here. And here also there is no issue. Okay, I think the problem here is, although we are returning JSON response from here, but look at this, from our main function we are not returning that. So whatever response we get here, we need to store it in response here, and we return response. Or we just, just to make it easier, we just say this and just say hit save. It will restart the server and come back here, just say again 41, and it will say the order is in transit. Hooray! But it says 41.0. Well, we can handle that. That's probably okay. Here you can just say int order, something like that. correct. So if you do int order, it will not do that .0 message, this one. So 41, 42. No order found with order ID 42, which is correct, because if you look at our table, we don't have anything in 42. Let's see 40. 40 is delivered. So you give 40 as an order ID and it will say it is delivered. No, it is not saying that. Okay, what happened? Let's see. Okay, my SQL connection is not available. I think I need to close my connection probably. That is why this is happening. There was some issue with my DB. So let's see if I'm closing. So here I'm closing the connection, and when I close the connection, it is not available. Yeah, so I don't need to close the connection as such, because I will have that connection open and I want to perform those queries. So again, let's restart this server and let's try this out again. Now you will give different text. So instead of just giving, okay, let's do all of this again. So I will say reset context. I will say, hey, it will say new order, track order. Okay, track order. What is the order ID? I will tell, here is my order ID, 56. No order found with 56. So you notice two things. I did not give exact text. See, I said here is my order ID equal to 56. Now I have here is my order number. You see, I don't have the exact text, but Dialogflow's NLP classification is able to detect that this means this particular intent. So it is matching this intent. See, it doesn't have to be same training phrase that you gave during training. So 56 is not found. When you say 40, see, it is saying delivered. Hooray! So see, we made a very good progress and we already have a track order intent implemented. Now let's move on to the other intent. The question is, for which other intents we need to have this webhook calling? We already implemented ongoing tracking. Track order doesn't need any fulfillment. Let's look at new order. New order also doesn't need any fulfillment, because when you create a new order, here it is saying create a new order, place a new order, etc. Okay, so see, this intent gets generated when you say, let me reset the context here. When you say hey and when you say new order, at that time this new dot order, see, this intent gets generated. Now to handle this intent, you don't need any backend, because you're already just giving the fixed response. So for this particular intent, fixed response from Dialogflow is enough. You don't need to call Fastapi. Now as a next section, person will say 2 pizzas and 1 mango lassi. At this time, let's see what we need to do. We are not committing the order to database yet. We are asking user, do you need anything else? And for that we use this other intent. So let's go there. So order.add. So we are invoking this intent. We are taking food item quantity and we are storing it in some temporary buffer. So you are saying, okay, anything else, and you're saving it in temporary buffer. Okay, so what is that buffer, by the way? We need to think about it. Where do we store that data? Because user might have conversation. He'll say, oh no, add 1 dosa or remove 1 mango lassi. Dialogflow doesn't have any facility where you can store all this temporary information. You have to go to our backend. So we need to enable webhook for sure. So which I have already done here. And in the backend, we need to have some temporary variable where we store all that information. Now, one idea is you can store that information in order table. So you can have a transient order, like the order which is not complete. You can say this is in progress order. So you can have a status column saying that in progress order or completed order. And by the way, that status is different here. Okay, this is a delivery status. Here, this is the order status, like user is still placing an order. So I have decided to use just a backend variable because I don't think we need to go to database and unnecessary complicate things. So think about it. If we have a Python dictionary, so let's say I have a dictionary here which stores session ID. So every chat conversation you are doing is one session. So you say, hi, place new order, 2 pizza, this is the bill, thank you, close the chat. That is one session. So if you have a dictionary where you have a session, okay, so this could be session ID 1, and here you store that order. You say, okay, pizzas 2, samosa, let's say 1. And when user says complete the order, okay, and by the way, you can have a different session here. So other user who is talking to your chatbot might have a different session ID, and they say, okay, I want to put chole order, okay, just one chole, and that's it. You can have this kind of session IDs in this common dictionary, which we will call in progress order. You can give any name, okay. So let's say you create this dictionary called in progress orders, where you have all these things stored. And when user says, now I'm done, please finish the order, at that time, you will take that order from this dictionary and store it in database. I think that approach is going to work. Pause the video if you're not getting it. It's really easy. Just do some thinking. You will find it pretty easy. Now, where do we commit? So when user say add this, add that, he will be invoking this ongoing order intent. But when they say place an order, done, that's it, you are invoking order complete intent. At that time, when this intent gets involved, so let me enable the fulfillment for this particular thing. When this intent get invoked, at that moment, I will come here. I will take that order and insert that record in a database. Okay, so that's the overall design. So let's create this particular variable. It will be a global variable, and here I will handle all the other intents. So what is the other intent that we have? The other intent is order complete. Okay. Actually, we have one more, which is intent is equal to, which is the other one, this one, order dot add, and then order dot remove also. So you will do all your handling. So you're realizing there are a lot of if else condition. And I'm thinking, what could be a better way to handle? I don't want to have this big if else condition. I just want to have a mapping. See, this is a mapping. If it is track order, call track order function. If it is order add, then you will call some function called add to order. We'll define that function. But essentially you have intent, and for each intent you are calling a unique function. And luckily for all the functions, parameters are same. So it's gonna work if you create maybe a dictionary. So let's say if I create this kind of dictionary here, intent handler dictionary, where you have intent and the function you are calling. It's also called like a routing table. You're routing this call to here, this call to there, etc. I think that will work, and that will avoid the need of this big and ugly if else condition. And then what you can do is, see, you have intent, correct? So when you pass an intent into a dictionary, let's say order add intent, it will give you a function. So this will be replaced by this function, correct? So let's say if you replace this by this function, how do you call this function? Well, you add parameters in session ID. You need to add parameters in session ID. So let me just add parameters. Session ID, we'll talk about it later. You need to just give parameters. And that add to order is nothing but when you supply intent into that dictionary, you get one of these functions, and you call that function by calling this. So I hope that thing is very clear to you. Let's now define our add to order function. So define add to order, and here we have parameters dictionary. And by the way, I will for now control/, I will just hide this. and just handle these two. Where do you get your food item? So first you need to get food item and quantities. So how do you get that? Let's look at Dialogflow once again and look at the diagnostic info. So food items are under parameters. Under parameters, if you say food item, you get that, and number, you get the number. So let's get those two here. So food items, numbers, you got it. Now what if someone is not supplying equal number of arguments here? If someone says add pizza and 2 mango lassi. Now we want the parameters to be same here. Okay, but here what's happening is you have 2 items in the list here, whereas here you have only one item. So I'm going to just say if len of food items is not equal to len of quantities, then you need to specify the quantities clear. We don't want to handle it. We want to keep things simple and say, hey, specify quantities clearly. Otherwise, I will say received what did we receive? Items and quantities in the backend. Once again, I'm just testing the flow and then we'll implement it. And after that, what you do is you return this. Control S. And now let's test the add to order scenario. So here I will just reset everything, start all over again. Hey, new order, 2 pizzas and 1 mango lassi. See, it works. Received pizza, mango lassi, and this in the backend. So it came all the way, traveled all the way till here, and it is returning the response. But if you don't give similar quantities, so I will say add 2 mango lassi and chole bhature, but I'm not specifying how many chole bhature. It will say, sorry, I didn't understand. Can you please specify food items and quantities clearly? So this will not work, but if I do 2 chole bhature, that will work. See, received this 2. So it's 2 and 2. So it is parsing the language. So here it says 2, it is converting it into a number. So far we are returning just the fixed response. Now let's think how we can aggregate our order. By aggregate, what I mean is a user might say initially, I need 2 pizza and 1 samosa, let's say. And in the second statement, when chatbot says, do you need anything else? They will say, oh, well, add 1 mango lassi. They can give their wish or the items one by one. So what we need to do is when they say this, we will be making a call to our add to order function, correct? So here in this function, we need to create a dictionary somehow, which says pizza is 2 and samosa is, let's say, 1. And when you give one more item to add, it should update this dictionary and it should add mango lassi in that. It needs to remember the old item. So your dictionary, food item dictionary will look like something like this. And when they say, no, that's it, place an order, at that time, we'll take this and commit it into our database. So let's not worry about saving it into database. Let's think how we can form this dictionary. And all these orders might be coming in subsequent calls to this add to order function. One thing we already discussed is we have this in progress order dictionary. So we can use that dictionary here and we can append to that. Now going over architecture, what will happen is you might have multiple chatbots. See, you might have multiple sessions. When we deploy this into production, there might be 100 users talking to these chatbots, and there are multiple instances, but these will call our backend server, and our backend server also might have multiple instances running. Let's say we deploy our server in AWS or Google Cloud, and we decide to run 2 instances or 3 instances of the server. Each of these servers might be handling multiple chat requests. So you need to remember session ID. So per chat request, let's say this chat will have one session ID, this will have a different session ID. And based on that, you need to create this kind of dictionary. So in this dictionary, the key will be session ID. And for that session, total order that users have placed. So let's say session ID 1 is this particular conversation. Okay, let's say this is session ID 1. Here they first say pizza and samosa, then they say pizza, samosa and mango lassi. So in that session 1, pizza, samosa and mango lassi. Okay, this kind of thing needs to happen. So initially when they say add to order, in our session ID we'll get this. When they say add mango lassi, at that time we will add it. So you need to update the dictionary associated with that same session ID. I hope this is making sense. Now, if you think about it, it's really a simple computer science architectural principle that we are following. So the first question that we need to ask is, how do you get the session ID? Because that's the key. If you look at Dialogflow once again, and if you look at the payload, that payload should have a session ID. So in this Dialogflow request, if you go to output context, see there is a session ID here. So after sessions, whatever this string is, it is session ID. We already get output context, correct? If you look at our code, we already have, let me remove, or let me just comment this part, and output context. So from this output context, which looks something like this, I want to get a session ID. How do you get that? Well, once again, I asked ChatGPT, and if you know about regular expressions in Python, you should be able to figure it out. Your logic should be any string that appears between slash sessions and slash context, that is your session ID. So I asked that question to ChatGPT. Let's see, where is that question? Yes, I asked that question and it gave me this code. And this is the right code. So I tested this in regex101.com. By the way, if you don't know about regular expressions, I highly suggest that you develop that skill, because as a Python engineer or as a data scientist, you need to have good knowledge on regular expression. So I have a tutorial. If you go to YouTube Code Basics Regex, you'll find this. It's a 20-25 minute video, but I go over all the fundamentals of regular expression. So here, using this website, I tested it that when you have this kind of pattern, it will extract the number between sessions and context. So see, it is extracting that number here. If I change that number, and if I say, okay, that number is, let's say this number is 456, see, it will retrieve 456. So let's use this. We are going to copy paste this code. Okay, and I have already, by the way, created a function. So I will just copy paste the whole function here, and that function is called extracting session ID from the session string. So you give a session string, and you let me import the RE module here. Then from that string, you can get the extracted string. Now, I want to keep a separate file for these functions, because we might add more functions like this in the future. So what I like to do is I like to have this generic helper file. So here you can say this is a generic helper.py, and I will move this function there. So let me move this function here. Maybe this one, you can move it at the top, and import this particular file here. So you'll say import generic helper, And when you want to extract that session string, you will just say generic helper dot extract session ID from the session string. Now what is the session string? Well, it is in the output context. Okay, and in the output context you need to take the first element. So output context, by the way, is the, you see, it's a list. In that list, take the first one and just say name. So I'll take the first one and I will say name, and that will give me the session ID, which I can pass it to all my functions. So this session ID, I am going to pass it to all my functions. Okay, so now I have the session ID. If you want to test these functions individually, what I do is if underscore name is equal to underscore main, you can write a unit test also, but let's test this function. So in here, let's give this particular string and let's see what happens. So here I'm going to give the string. Okay, and I'm expecting it should return this string 7F23 and the long string, whatever it is. So print, and you can just right click and run it. Okay, this code is not working as expected because it is returning sessions and context both. You don't want that. But actually, let's see if that is the code that we had. Yes, the extracted text should be match.group1. So I don't know if we did that. Match.group1. Do we have that? Let's see. Actually, it should be group1, not the whole string, because in the, if you know the fundamentals of regular expression, the first one will be the whole match and group one will be whatever is in the bracket. So that is what we want. See, now you're getting this string 7F. If you change the string here, okay, so if I say 1 2 3 and let's see if that is my string, session string, so it will return me 1 2 3. So now you have tested this function. You can rely that this function works okay, and then you're using that function here to extract the session ID. Okay, so now I got session ID. What do I do next? So let's go back to here, and here in the add to order function, I'm going to add the session ID string parameter. So this is the parameter I'm adding, and here I need to do something with that. Not here, actually here, because this is the error condition, so we are handling that anyway. All right, now let's look at our structure. First, you need to form this dictionary. That is the first task. Then you need to put it in the in progress order dictionary. How do you form this dictionary? Because what you have here is two separate lists. So you have one list which contains the food items, the other list contains the numbers. You want to create this kind of dictionary. Once again, I asked my dear friend ChatGPT that I have these kind of two lists. How do I convert this dictionary? And it gave me this particular Python code. So folks, by watching this video today, I am walking you through my process of how I build end-to-end applications. And you're realizing I use ChatGPT as a productivity tool. Of course, I try to understand that code, so it's not I'm blindly copying, because ChatGPT makes mistakes, but it saves me a lot of time in finding the syntax, structuring the code and so on. Therefore, I'm a big fan of this tool. I encourage all of you to use it. You'll realize it will save you a lot of time. So here, if you have two lists like this, and if you run this code, it will create this dictionary. If you don't believe ChatGPT, well, you can test it in Python. And the way you do that is you go to Python console And in Python console, you can type that and see print food dict, and see it does work actually. So I will just go ahead and use that code here. So I will just say if len not equal to this, then the food dictionary, I'm using just that code, okay? So zip and then dict. Zip will create the pairs and dict will create the dictionary out of it. So this will be the new food dictionary. Why do I call it new food dictionary? Because your existing dictionary might already have these two. So say a user said, I need 2 pizza and 1 samosa initially. So you already have this dictionary, okay? So let's say you already have this particular dictionary. And in the new call that you received when user said, oh well, add 1 mango lassi, at that time, you are going to get only this dictionary. So you got only this dictionary. Now you need to append this dictionary into this one. So that is our next step. How do you take the session ID? You have a session ID here. You have a session ID. Along with session ID, you have this dictionary. And this dictionary is this new food dictionary. That is a new incoming order. First, check if this session ID exists in the in progress order. And if it exists, then append. But if it doesn't exist, then you have to enter a key. Enter as a new key. Okay, these are just basic dictionary fundamentals that I'm talking about. So here you will say if session ID in progress order, then do something. Otherwise, let's say session ID is not in the in progress order. Let's say you don't have this. Big deal. Then what you do is you take this session ID and just create the key value pair. So let's do that first. I will handle that scenario first. I will say take the session ID and that is my new food dict. But if it already exists, let's say if this is the scenario, if it already exists, such as this session ID 1, let's say you have something. If it already exists, then now you need to merge these two dictionaries. Okay, so how do you merge this? First, let me get the old one. So this is the old one. Okay, I will call it current food dict. That is your old one. In this, you need to append the new one. So how do you do that? Once again, ChatGPT is telling that if you have these two dictionaries, if you want to update dictionary 1, you just say dict1 dot update dict2, and the dict1 will be having all of these. So this is the way you kind of merge two dictionaries. So let's go back to Python code and say current food dict dot update it with new food dict, and then you need to put it back here. I need to verify if it will automatically update, because it's the same object, so it should, but just to be on a safe side, I'll just put it here. By the way, you can verify in your code. If it does, then you don't need this particular line. Anyways, now I took care of that logic where if this guy comes in, then we are taking this here and we are updating it here. Perfect. Now I have this thing. So actually my goal is accomplished. Now I need to send this message back to my user saying that this thing is already updated. Okay, so how do you do that? For this particular order, you want to return a message to a user saying that so far you have 2 pizza and 1 mango lassi. You have this dictionary. How do you convert it into this message where you are saying 2 pizza, 1 mango lassi? So you are essentially taking the value of the key in a dictionary first, then the key, then and, then this, and then mango lassi. If you're just one, let's say pizza only, you will say you have 2 pizza and that's it. You will not have and, etc. Once again, I use my friend ChatGPT. I'm saying I have this kind of dictionary. Write a Python program that outputs this. See, you want to convert this dictionary into this kind of text. And once again, ChatGPT gave me the answer. I think this has little mistake. Probably you need a list here for using list comprehension. So I did some minor tweak and I figured it out. So let's add that particular function in our generic helper. So in the generic helper, we are going to add this new function called get string from food dictionary. And that food dictionary that we're taking, we are going to call that food dict, which is a type hint of dict. And here we will use whatever ChatGPT gave, plus I made some tweak here. So that is this. And let's taste this function. So here print, let's say get str from food dict. Let's say you have samosa, 2 chole. Let's say someone is super hungry, they ordered 5 chole bhature. See, it is working well. It is putting the value here first, then this, then chole, and then this. Okay, perfect. So now let's use this function here. So we're going to use this function from generic helper and create that string. So here, I think we will call that order string. Order string is generic helper. And it is not a new food dict. Just to be safe and secure, I will just use whatever the in progress order dictionary is giving me back. So when I do in progress order session ID is this, it will return me this dictionary here, which I'm passing it to that function. And this function anyway is converting that dictionary to this string. And we don't want to just say 2 samosa 5 chole. We want to say so far you have, that kind of string. So here, let me change this to so far you have this order. Do you need anything else? Perfect. I think it is looking good. I mean, if it is not, then it will give error and we'll figure it out. So you do Control S to save it. And let's see where we are. Yes, it restarted it. Okay. So now we'll go back to ngrok first, by the way, because it might time out. Hey, so yeah, one thing about ngrok, you see restart ngrok. If you've not created any account or anything, this session will end after some time. So remember to restart it. So I'll do Control C to end that session. And then I will just restart it. See, ngrok http 800. And it restarted the session. And my new string is this. So just highlight and then right mouse click. So it will copy it and you will put it back into fulfillment. I mean, when you are in production, you don't have to do it. But since this is in development, we are still building, we have to do it. If you don't want to go through all of this, you have to go to ngrok and I think register for an account. That is one way to solve it. All right, now I think we are good. Okay, let's try this. I will say, hey, okay, I will say new order. What do you want to order? 2 pizzas and 1 mango lassi. Now see, this is what happened. So far you have 2 pizza, 1 mango lassi. Why? Because it created this particular order. Let me print the whole dictionary here so that you get an idea. So I will print it here, print it with star so that there is some kind of visual indication. Let me print so you get a feeling of what's going on here. So Control S, it is restarting. And I will go back here, reset everything. I'll start over, say hi, then new order. Then I will say 2 pizza, 1 mango lassi. Now look at this. See star. So in progress. And oh, actually, you know what? I want to print the session ID as well. Never mind, we'll have to do it again. So reset context, do it all over again. Hi, new order, 2 pizza and 1 mango lassi. See, this is the session ID. This is the session ID that I was talking about. Session ID. See, session ID, then you have pizza and mango lassi. Now when I say chole, it should append to this particular dictionary. So let's say chole. Let's add some yummy chole. Add to chole. I don't need to say chole bhature. I can say chole only and it will work. Why did it work? Well, remember in the entities you said chole bhature synonym is chole. See, and if you look at the dictionary now, see, I have chole bhature here. And if some user from some other session makes other order, it will maintain that. Okay, so looks like our ordering looks good now. Yes, so I will just remove this print trace because we just added it to confirm few things. Now we are going to look at a very interesting part, which is saving the order in a database. Once you have ordered all these, you will say, nope, that's it, or complete my order, because Chatbot is saying so far you have 2 pizza, 1 mango lassi, 2 chole bhature. Do you need anything else? And then you will say, nope, that's it. That's it. That's all I had. And at that time, the intent that is going to be triggered is this: order complete, context ongoing order. In our backend, we have that particular intent mapped here to a function called complete order. And right now that function is empty. So let's write some code for that. In this function, you are getting a session ID. So using that session ID, you need to find a key in our in progress order dictionary, because our in progress order dictionary looks something like this. And if it is session ID 1, then this is the order you are saving to database. If it is session ID 2, this is the order you are saving to a database. So first check if session ID in progress order. If it is not in, then it means you have some problem. So in the fulfillment text, you will say, you know what, I'm having trouble finding your order. You need to probably place your order again, because we don't have that order due to some error or something. But let's say if you find that, okay, then your order, the actual food order, will be this. And I will just call it order. So this order will get you, let's say, pizza, mango lassi, etc. Now you have to insert this record in a database. And just to make things easier, we should probably call a function called save to database. Let's create a new function called save to database, which looks something like this: def save to db order, which is a dictionary. All right, now take a pause and let's think what we need to do in this particular function. Let's look at our database. In our database, we have things like this. We want to insert a next order in the orders table. So first thing we need is order ID. So what will be the order ID? Well, what we can do is just say whatever is my max order ID, add 1 to it. That will be my next ID. So max order ID is 41. So my next order ID will be 41 plus 1, which is 42. And to get max order ID, you know the function. So select max from orders, select max order ID from orders, and it gives 41. Okay, so let's write a function just to get the next available order ID. And for that also I use ChatGPT for that, and it gave me this function. So I copy pasted this function. Make sure you don't include cnx.close. That's why, see, blindly copying from ChatGPT is never going to be beneficial. You have to look at the code. You have to think. You need to have those fundamentals. I know that you can't close a connection like this in the middle of the function. So I removed it and I created this new function. Let me add this new function here. I will call it, what should we call it? Get next order ID maybe, or get next available order ID. And that function, I'm not going to write the whole function because I pretty much copy pasted most of the code from ChatGPT. But just to let you know, say it is selecting the max, and whatever max you're getting, it is saying that max plus 1. But let's say if you don't get any result, let's say your order table is empty, then return 1. Okay, so now we get, let's say, the order ID. What do you do next? Next, you need to insert a record here. So let's say if I am ordering 2 pizza, first thing you need to do is, using pizza string, find out the item ID. So see, pizza string item ID is 3. Okay, so from this derive the item ID. That is your first step. Okay, get item ID, which will be this. Once you have that, and now you have 2 pizza. So see, 2 pizza is your input. So what did you do? From pizza, you derive the item ID, which is 3. Then in the step 2, I think step 1 is really get the max ID. So that is step 0. So I'm skipping that. Now get the price. Get the price of 2 pizza, because this is the price for 1 pizza. You have to get the price for 2 pizza, which will be the get the price and multiply it by the quantity, which is 2, and then you insert it here. So you have order ID, item ID, quantity, and total price. Now luckily we have a stored procedure in our MySQL table called get price for item, and if you look at any item, see pizza here, it will give you that pizza price. And then we have second store procedure, get total order price. So that will be, or I think we should be looking at this, insert order item. So here, see, when you say insert order item, you can give food item, which is pizza, then quantity, and then order ID, and the price, etc. it will retrieve on its own. So that this is good actually. So using insert order item store procedure, we can insert those items here. But this store procedure is taking one food item at a time. We have multiple food items, so we need to run some kind of for loop here. Okay, so go back, and in the save to database function, we have order. So this order can be pizza 2, chole 1. It could be this kind of dictionary. We need to insert these items one by one, and the way you do that is you write a for loop. You will say for food item quantity in order dot items. When you do this on a dictionary, you will get food item and the quantity, and then you will insert. So now in our DB helper, we need to add one method called insert order item. Let's say we have a method called insert order item, where you can supply food item, you can supply quantity, and you supply next order ID. Then this will work. So how to get next order ID? By the way, we have that function already. So DB helper dot get next order ID, and that is your next order ID. So that part is taken care of, but we need to write this function, insert order item. So I'll go here, I'll create a new function here, def insert order item, and that method is taking 3 parameters, these 3. Okay, once again I used ChatGPT and said that I have this kind of stored procedure, just write me a function, and it wrote me a nice beautiful function, which I'm going to copy paste here. See, it is calling the insert order item stored procedure. This is how you call it. And if the order is not successfully placed, you roll back and you do printing, etc. Okay, so this thing is done. Now let's come back to this function. So here, now that you have insert order item, I want to check the return code here, because it might return -1, which is not good. And if it returns -1, then if let's say you have any database error, I will return -1 from here too, and we'll handle this thing in save to database function. So we'll do that. But for now, let's say everything worked okay at that time. At that time, we are pretty much done, and we can return that order ID back to this function. So here, this will be order ID. Okay, so let's say I saved my record in a database. I can say, hey, your order is placed. Here is your order ID. Okay, or here is your order total. Actually, order total is also something we need to mention, but let's first handle order ID. Okay, order ID, by the way, can be -1, which indicates the database error. In that case, you can say if order ID is equal to -1, then you can return some message saying that sorry, I could not place your order, try it again. But if it places the order, then you will say, awesome, I have placed your order, this is the order ID. Okay, and you're also going to say order total. So how do you get order total? Where for order total, wouldn't it be nice if you have a function in our DB helper which says, okay, get total order price, and you just give order ID. Luckily, we have the stored procedure for such a function. So here, if you say get price for the item and get total price, yes. Okay, so for order ID 40, let's say total price is 12 and 8, 20. So if I say 40 here, so it is giving me 20. So we already have a stored procedure which we can call. Okay, so I will say get total order price. So I talked to ChatGPT and I said, I have a stored procedure called get total order price, where I give order ID. Can you write a Python code for me? And it's not very surprising. It wrote a nice Python code which looks something like this. Let me just show that code to you. So that code looks something like this. You take order ID, you select. This is where you're calling that user-defined function, by the way. It's not a stored procedure. It's a user-defined function that I'm calling, and very straightforward function. It will return the total order price. And once again, you can use that if underscore name is equal to main to test that particular function. Okay, I got the order total. What do I do next now? Okay, I have order total. All of my fulfillment text looks good. I can return that. Okay, I can return it. Perfect. But we need to do one more thing. When an order is placed, let's say this order is placed, we need to remove this record from our in progress order. Otherwise, it will mess things up. And to remove that, we can use this function called del. So if you do that, it will remove that whole thing from our dictionary. Okay, now let's go back to our database and let's think one more time if we are completing everything. So let's say incoming order came in, you placed, let's say it was pizza and chole bhature. You inserted two records. Order ID will be same, 42. So 40 to 42 and the pizza and chole bhature record. Okay, so that's it. But we have another table called order tracking. So here also we need to insert a record. Remember, when order is placed, the order should also go into order tracking, and we can just say this is in progress, etc. So let's do that one last piece, and that will come in save to DB function, by the way, because save to DB is the function which kind of saves everything to our database. And here it will be my wish that my DB helper has a routine called insert order tracking, where I insert my next order ID, and let's say the status I want to insert is in progress. So I want to have this function which takes order ID in progress, and all it will do is it will insert less order ID, and this is the status, progress or status, correct? And I used ChatGPT once again to kind of write that function. So I'm just gonna copy paste, folks. I know it's a lot of coding, so I want to save your time. You are given all this code, so take your time to digest this. This is a long tutorial, I understand, folks, but we are building end-to-end serious project here. So obviously you need to have patience. Whoever has patience and completes this till the end is the person who is going to get maximum benefit out of this. Okay, so now inserted. So the order is inserted into order tracking table as well. Looks like we have done most of the things. There could be an error, I don't know, so I will just restart my server and I will now do the true end-to-end test. So let's try everything once again. I will say, hi, place me new order. What do you want to order? 2 pizzas and 1 mango lassi. It has that in our in progress order dictionary. You will say, nope, that's it. And see, it placed an order. The order ID is 42. The total is 21. Let's verify it in our database. So right now database has only 2 orders. See, 40 and 41. 40 and 41 in both the tables. Now let's run it again. 42. See, this is 42, folks. This is what we ordered just now. And same thing here, 42 in progress. See, and the total is 16 and 5, 21. So our chatbot is saying 21, which is correct. And you placed, I think, 2 pizza, 1 chole, whatever. Perfect. So now this is like end-to-end tested. You can also place new order and test that scenario where you are adding more and more items. So let's say add 2 mango lassi and 2 chole, or you can say add 1 vada pav. So 2 mango lassi, 2 chole, 1 vada pav, and you can say now complete the order, and it will say we have placed your order 43. See, order number 43 should have 3 items. Let's go back here. 43, see, it has 3 items. Amazing. Let me go over that session ID logic so that there is no confusion left. In production, there will be multiple chat windows, and the server, the Fast API backend that we are writing, there could be multiple servers that we can deploy to our cloud provider. It could be AWS, GCP, etc. And one server will be receiving requests from multiple chat windows opening at the same time. So let's say server 1 receives 2 chat windows at the same time. The first person says add 5 chole bhature. In the backend, we will add session ID for that session and we'll say chole 5 order. Then they can say, oh, can you also add 1 vada pav? And in that same session ID, we will add a vada pav. At the same time, other person might start a chat, say new order. Now when they say new order, we don't need to do anything. But when they say I need 2 pizza and 1 plate samosa, we will add session ID 2 in our dictionary and we'll add 2 pizza and 1 samosa. So just pause this video and just visualize this picture. Your understanding will be very, very clear. Per chat window, that is a session ID, and the order for that session is stored as a value for that key in the dictionary. Now, this person will say complete my order. So we'll save the record in database and we will remove that session ID. See, session ID 1 is gone here. See, it was there before, but when this says complete, at that time, we remove the session ID. and this person can continue having a conversation. And that was the reason in our code you noticed we deleted that particular key. So if you see that delete code that we wrote, where is it? Yes, see this delete line we wrote because once the order is saved to a database, we want to remove it from the dictionary. Now let's move on to our last piece, which is the remove. Okay, so we have handled most of the intentions, and now the only intention that is remaining is order.remove. Okay, so let me comment this code, and we are going to write this remove from order function. This function will be actually simple. When you're having a conversation, say add 2 vada pav, 1 mango lassi, this happens in real life. Person might say, oh, you know what, please remove mango lassi, I don't want to order that. They just change their mind while they are on the call. Same thing in NLP chatbot, they will remove some items at any point of time. So what we need to do is, let's say for session ID 2, right now it is vada pav and mango lassi. And if that person says remove mango lassi, what do we need to do step by step? Step 1 is locate the session ID record. Okay, so that session ID, let's say if it is session ID 2, that record will be this. Once you locate it, step number 2 is get the key from the dictionary, get the value from the dictionary, actually value from dict, which is actually this. So like locate the session record will be this whole thing, and then when you locate the value from the dict, it will be this dictionary. And step number 3 will be remove the food items that you are asking to remove. Now in the request, you will receive an array of food items that you want to remove. You will receive, so let's say vada pav. You might receive multiple items. So let's say in your order there is pizza as well. Okay, I'm just adding one more item to make it clear. And if the person says remove vada pav and pizza, now what we need to do is we need to iterate through this array, and we need to also iterate through the keys in this particular dictionary and remove those key value pairs. So that is the simple logic that we are going to follow here. So let's go back to the Python code, and first thing, obviously we are going to check whether this session ID exists or not. Okay, so you will say if session ID not in progress order. See if it is not there, then there is some error condition, and you can tell to the user that look, some error happened, buddy, sorry, you need to place a new order. But let's say if session ID is there, then you need to session ID there, meaning let's say this is the session ID, so you need to locate this order. So this order is what? In progress order in bracket session ID. So let's do that. So in progress order, okay, and session ID, this will give you this particular record. So let's store this record in a variable called current order. So this current order once again is this particular dictionary, and you want to get from the request the items which are being removed. Let's say vada pav and pizza is being removed. Let me add pizza here just to make this picture complete. So that food items will be coming from parameters. Okay, and the parameters, it will be food item. We'll see in the Dialogflow how this works, but the parameter name is essentially food items. So now you're going through all those food items. So let's say I'm going through vada pav and pizza. So first I get vada pav, and that vada pav you look into this particular dictionary, which is your current order. So you will say if item, first you want to check, see, let's say vada pav might not be there because of some error. Someone said, let's say dosa here. Well, you're trying to remove dosa from this order which doesn't have dosa. That's an error condition. So you need to handle it. The way we are going to handle it is, we'll say if item not in current order, do something. We'll worry about that later. But let's say if it is in current items, okay, you will delete from that current order. You will delete it. You will delete what? Item. That's it. So you delete it from the item, and then you will say, okay, item is removed, blah blah blah. But there could be scenarios where, as we saw in if condition, item is not there. So you want to kind of track which items are removed and which items do not exist. So for that, I will create an array called removed items. So whenever item gets removed, I want to track which items got removed. Okay, so I will just put that in one list, and the items which are not removed, which we did not find, we'll say no such items. So no such items dot append item. When we are done with this for loop, we know which items were removed from the order, which items did not exist. And the way we can utilize this information is we can say if len of removed item is greater than 0, meaning we removed some items, then we'll say my fulfillment text is equal to, it's a format string, we will say we removed XYZ items from your order. That message will send back to the user so that we can display it in our chat window. If length of no such item, let's say you did not find some items. So here in our case, if we say remove vada pav and pizza, or let's say if we said not vada pav and pizza, but let's say rava dosa. Now it will be able to remove vada pav, but rava dosa doesn't exist. So the message should say removed vada pav from order, and the other one is no item, or let's say rava dosa not found in your order. You want to just be very, very clear. So here you are saying which items were removed. Here you are saying which items. So if length of no such items is greater than 0, then from current order, your current order, let's say, does not have these items. This is the message that we want to pass. And if length of current order dot keys is equal to 0, which means your order is essentially empty. Let's say your current order here, due to some reason, I don't know what could be that reason, let's say it's blank, it means you have an empty order. So you want to display that as well. Well, after removing it, after removing the item, let's say your order is blank. Okay, so let's say you had only this thing, one thing, vada pav, and you remove vada pav, so your order is blank. Okay, we will also have as condition your order is not blank, so you want to display which items are remaining in the order. So what items are remaining? Whatever is your current order, this current order, those are the items remaining, right? So how do you convert this current order into a string format? So we already wrote this function called get string from fooddict. So we'll use, we just used that function few minutes back. So the same function we are going to use here and say your okay, and this is generic helper. So from generic helper, call this function, get the information on which items are removed and what is left now. So this is the current order, and we'll say here is what is left in your order. So these are the only things which are left in your order, and after that we can return the response. Okay, I'm doing some copy paste to save again time on my recording. Hope you understand. All right, my function I think looks pretty good. We kept track of removed items, no such items, and JSON response is being returned. So let's test this thing end to end. So the server is already restarted. I'm going to go to my Dialogflow. So let's locate the Dialogflow here. You'll reset all the context. You will say hi. We are forming a new order here. So you will say new order. I need, you can say 2 mango lassi and chole bhature. So see, 2 mango lassi and chole bhature. Wait, it did not give the, See, it did not give the response saying that so far you have this. And whenever that happens, I go to diagnostic info. See, fulfillment status is again that same ngrok error, because if you look at your ngrok, the session has expired. So you need to restart it. It will generate a new string. I know it's a pain to kind of copy paste the new string anytime. If you don't want to go through the pain, just create a new account on ngrok. So right click, I will go to fulfillment and save it. It should work now. All right, I will say hi. Okay, new order, 2 mango lassi and 2 chole bhature. Now see, I got this response, which means my backend is okay. You can also remove items now. So let's say I have 2 mango lassi, 2 chole bhature. Remove chole bhature, please. I don't want to eat too much oily. Okay, so it says removed chole bhature. It says removed chole bhature, but it doesn't say what items are left. Okay, here is what is left. It did not say that. So why it did not say that? It should say here is what is left. Let me see. Okay, maybe we can test this whole thing again. So let me put some stress here. So we came all the way here and we have these removed items from the current order. After that, diagnostic info. Oh yeah, because I did not enable the fulfillment. Yes, that's the reason. So order.remove, you need to enable the fulfillment here. So go here. See, the webhook was not enabled and it was just giving me this default response. So let me remove this response so that it's not confusing. And let's try this again. New order, 2 lassi, 2 chole bhature, remove chole bhature. Removed chole bhature, and only thing left is 2 mango lassi. I hope you are getting a lot of water in your mouth while working on this project. So you have done a lot of hard work. So maybe order some of these things and just enjoy, give your mind a break. Okay, you have 2 mango lassi left. Now you can say, that's it. That's it. Please place an order. Awesome. We placed an order number 44. If you go to the database, you will find a record, order number 44 should be there. 44 is there. Hooray! I need to pay $10 at the time of delivery. And let's say you wait, you're very hungry, you're waiting for 15-minute, order is not there yet. You will say, hey, track order. What is the order ID? 44 or 43? 44 is not available. Okay, why did I get that? Okay, let's check. So here track order takes 1 positional argument but 2 given. Got it. So remember, we are passing 2 arguments. So one, we need to pass session ID as well, although we are not using it, but it's a string. I think that was the error. So you can hit save, restart the server. You can once again say track order 44 and it is in progress. At some point when the order is dispatched, someone from the backend, the other system, will change this order from in progress to, let's say, in transit. Okay, that's gonna happen through some other system. And when that happens, and when now you tracked order number 44, it will say it is in transit. Okay, it is saying it is in progress. Maybe it is a little slow. I already applied. Okay, I see. It is going on because I have an as open connection actually. So the order is not committed because my connection is still open in my backend. So I need to exit. I need to just, I think I can just restart the server. And when you restart the server here, let's see. See, this came it in transit. And now when you check 44, it should say in transit. So this is working good end to end. Now let's go to integrations, and through integrations, see, it provides variety of integrations where you can integrate your chatbot to Twilio, Avaya, variety of platforms, Slack, you name it. There is a web demo, by the way. If you click on it, if it says enable button, just click on that. And when you click on this thing, you will get this kind of window. And here, see, hey, what do you want to do? New order. This is now full-fledged chatbot. 2 pizzas, 1 rava dosa, and it placed the order. Sorry, I did not understand. Oh yeah, see, TWP, I had a typo. 2 pizzas, 1 rava dosa, and it will add that order. Hey, please remove rava dosa. I don't want rava dosa. I want to add masala dosa. Actually, I changed my mind. Add 1 masala dosa. See, we need to specify quantity. And now I have 2 pizza, 1 masala dosa. Do you need anything else? Nope. Your order is placed 45. Okay, and you can also track the order. What is your order ID? 45. Okay, you can also say my order ID is 41. You can use different type of language and it will still work. So my chatbot is ready. As a next step, we are going to integrate this chatbot into a website. Let's now create a website very quickly, once again using ChatGPT. I went to ChatGPT and said, create me a website for Pandeji Eatery. The website should have a visual look and feel, and it should have only following items. So it created me a layout which looks pretty good, like very basic structure. Then I said, create HTML and CSS code for it. And you can give any specific guideline. Let's say you want orange theme or red or yellow theme, whatever you like. It will generate a basic HTML and CSS code. It will not generate images, by the way. So images is something you have to get on your own. So I took all of this code. I gave a lot of instructions. I'm not going to go over all of them because this is not a web development tutorial essentially. But I just want to highlight that using ChatGPT, even if you don't know web programming, you can still create a website. And I have given the code of that in the Frontend directory. So if you have downloaded our main folder, you would see Frontend directory. So that Frontend directory has all these files. So I gave a couple of images. So I created these images on my own, by the way, using a variety of tools. And then I also got some banner from the subscription that I used PowerPoint and created all these logos. All of this was done pretty quickly. And food is a directory which has the food website. Okay. So this is, I think, something different. But home.html is the main HTML page. And this is called your cascading style sheet. It defines the visual look and feel of the website. Now, when you double click on this particular website, you will see the website comes up and this particular thing comes up at the bottom. Okay, so this is what comes up when you say hi. It will say new order or track order. And the way we got this chat window in our website is using this iframe control. So this iframe controller, you can just copy paste into your website code. So here I have my HTML code. So I copy pasted it, and all it is doing is it is going through some cloud function, https console.dialogflow.com, and it is giving this specific ID for that chatbot. I also created, by the way, this special class called chatbot and put it in my style sheet, and I used ChatGPT for it. So if you know how to instruct ChatGPT, you can create a website easily. And now that I have a website, I can test the whole thing end to end on the website itself. So here on the website, I will say, place me a new order. It will say what order. I will say 1 biryani and anything else. No, please, complete the order, and see, order is completed. See, it's working. There is a website, there is a chatbot, and it is working end to end. You can say track order and 46. All right. So This is complete. Our website is ready. Once again, I did not go through a lot of HTML and CSS fundamentals here because this is not a web development tutorial. It is an NLP tutorial. You will find all the code in the Frontend directory. So when you download this, you will have three type of directories: Frontend, Backend, and Dialogflow assets. So Frontend will have all the website code. Backend has obviously our Python code. Database has database dump, and these assets have the training phrases. So hooray, good job, website is complete, and we have a chatbot integrated into our website now. Now comes the most interesting part of this entire tutorial, which is exercise. Folks, without practicing, you're not going to learn it. So I'm assuming so far you have practiced along with me, and I'm going to give you two exercises. The first one is there is an issue with incomplete order, and this will happen in real life too. When you deploy the first version of your chatbot, it's not going to be perfect. There will be issues which will be reported by beta users, or even in production you will find issues. So you have to go through the iteration to make your chatbot perfect. Here, what is happening is, let's say you added 2 pizza in your order, correct? So right now it is saying you have 2 pizza in your order. But someone, let's say by mistake, without completing the order, they are saying new order. You see? At this point, bot is asking you, do you need anything else? You should say, no, please complete the order. But you are not saying that. You are saying new order. And you have started new order, whereas the previous order of 2 pizza is incomplete. Okay, now let's say I want rava dosa this time. So 2 rava dosa. Okay, look at that. That's a problem. I only ordered 2 rava dosa because it's a new order. Forget everything that I said before, but it is still remembering that you ordered 2 pizza in the previous iteration. This is a problem. Whenever someone says new order, you need to clean your cache. You need to clean your in progress order dictionary. So that is one exercise that you have to work on. The second exercise is actually simple. We have only 2 options: new order, track order. Add a third option called store hours. And when someone says, give me store hours, you should return a fixed response. You don't need to call backend. Just from Dialogflow text response, you can return this. Folks, this is going to be very easy, okay? So please don't complain. You can do this very, very easily. Once you have done both of these exercises, write a nice LinkedIn post where you are summarizing your work. You're saying, I did this project. Here are my key learnings. What are the things you need to take care when building a chatbot, such as developing intents, going through the flow, going through that whole cycle. Talk about MVP, scope of work. You should talk about non-technical things in this LinkedIn post, and then post this on LinkedIn. See, LinkedIn is super important, folks, because it helps you build online credibility. In the post, you can give credits if you like this video, obviously, and you can also just give a tag. Like on LinkedIn, we have a company, so you can just say hashtag code basics. You can put my name, my co-partner Hemanand's name, and doing that activity on LinkedIn can actually help you get a job, because there is a person who got a job by doing this. So what we do is on codebasics.io, if you go, we conduct this resume project challenges. And in that challenge, we give you a data set and you build analytics dashboard and so on. And we evaluate their entries. And these people have a habit of writing LinkedIn posts. So Aryan Sharma was the first winner. He wrote this LinkedIn post. And actually, he got a job as a data analyst in Integ Enterprising just because of this post. Because when he became winner, I posted separately saying that, Aryan won this, etc. And he got an interview call. But if you don't consider that whole resume project challenge, in general, if you're learning something, post it on LinkedIn, because other people are going to notice your work. They're going to notice your English written skill. Aryan did a nice presentation, by the way. See, this is an amazing presentation that he made. And here he shared all his insights. Maybe for this project, you can make a nice presentation in PowerPoint, whatever presentation tool you like, and present your insights, because presentation skills are very important for a data scientist or even NLP engineer. So by doing that, you are getting a chance to practice those soft skills and you're showcasing those skills to the world. So folks, this is actually very important. Okay, do not ignore this. You have watched this entire video. You have spent so much hard work on this so far. So please finish that hard work by completing those 2 simple exercises and also finishing this particular aspect of the exercise, which is posting on LinkedIn. See, he's tagging my company. He's saying thanks, whatever. You can do all of that. Another thing I want to mention is on codebasics.io resume project challenge. We are going to post new challenge on Dialogflow only. So folks, if you have not, please register. It's free. By the way, this whole project challenge is free. You don't have to pay a single penny for this. Make a login to codebasics.io, and whenever new challenge comes out, we send email to those folks. That challenge will be based on whatever you learned from today's tutorial. And whoever wins, we give them prizes too. Okay. So all that information is here. Go to codebasics.io resume projects. You will find that. Make sure you participate in that upcoming challenge. It will be on building chatbot using Dialogflow, and we will take a different use case altogether. But whatever you learn from this video is going to be useful to you.